Hey guys, welcome back to Chattin with D. Today I got a chance to interview CEO of Black Women in Media, Judith Jacques. We spoke about her journey as a Black woman in media, behind the scenes details at the Black Women Media Conference, and what to expect this year. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and let's get started. Chattin with D is where you need to be. Judith, thank you so much for coming onto my show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you look beautiful, so thank you.
Thank you, you as well.
So I want to know, how did you get started in media? Tell me about your journey.
Yeah, so I started in media in my undergrad. It was the first communications program at St. John's University when I started. And I was excited to be a part of an industry that didn't fall under medicine and law and politics and engineering, because that's really the route where my parents wanted me to go. So I saw this new exciting industry and I asked my counselor about it and she was like, you should get into, communications. I think you'd be great as a publicist. And she gave me more information and I agreed with her. I was like, this is where I need to be.
Right. And so you followed your passion, and you followed your intuition, and now that has led to a slowly but surely growing empire that you're creating.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And so I want to know, how would you describe yourself as a Black woman in media?
I would say that, the attributes that are really important as a Black woman in media is to be tenacious and to be resilient and to have thick skin.
Yes.
So I would say I had to grow into those things and make sure that I embody those attributes in order to, be withstanding and survive in this industry.
Right, exactly. Because I feel like there's so many times that you come across certain things that might not agree with your morals, but you still have to push forward and remember that you're doing it from a passionate standpoint.
Right.
That's really inspiring.
Thank you.
You've created a space for Black women to be honored and recognized within our community, which is so inspiring. And I really want to know, how did you start this journey?
It started from my own frustrations, I'll say, and my own experiences from my undergrad all the way up until I started working at these large firms and agencies, marketing agencies, PR firms, and so on, because I was so sure that this was like the thing for me. And I realized that I was always the only Black woman in the room. So there was this repetition of tokenism. And then there were the microaggressions and the suppression. I was expected to be grateful to be in the space and to be in the room, and I was expected to work harder than everyone else, but receive less pay, less accolades, less career advancement opportunities, less everything, and just be happy that I'm here in the space, in the room. And it grew this level of frustration, and I started having conversations with other Black women, and I realized this was not just my experience. So a Black Woman in Media was founded through that frustration, through those experiences. I wanted to create a community of Black women in this space, a safe space where we celebrate each other. And that's what we constantly do, right? If they don't celebrate us, then we celebrate ourselves and we create something for us, by us. And that's how Black Women in Media came into fruition, and just the response alone, we see that it was needed.
Yeah. When I first came across Black Women in Media, it was through a mutual friend of ours, Ashley Tiffany, who also has an amazing show, Stay on TV, and it was so crazy. When I first came across it, I thought to myself, wow, this is something that I would have loved to see growing up as a child.
Right.
And so now that it's finally come to fruition, this is going to be something that you can have for years and years to come and help inspire the younger generation.
Absolutely, and that's another thing. It's very important that you said that, because we definitely want to bridge a gap between our pioneers and our future media mavens, because there's a lot of, there's this disconnect. The women that are in these industries, they seem so far off and untangible, like you can't even get near them. But they're everyday women just like yourself and myself, and it's very important for us to have platforms that bridge that gap. And I'm happy to say that Black Women in Media is one of them. We're launching a mentorship program soon, so we can actually create not just performative experiences, but create experiences that actually affect this change.
Exactly. Well, I'm so excited to see what you guys have in store. I know a lot is coming up for this November.
Yes.
Let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
What is the behind the scenes process of what's happening?
Yes.
What is new for Black Women in Media this year?
Okay, well, for this year, we have our conference and awards, November 15th to the 20th. You can get more information at www.blackwomeninmedia.com. However, we decided that we're going to keep our conference virtual just like we did last year, but our awards ceremony, it'll be hybrid, so it'll be virtual for our audience, but our honorees and our VIPs and so on, and you know, esteemed guests, they'll join us in person at an undisclosed location in New York.
Oh my God, I'm so excited, because I know this is going to be something that's going to be able to help you take your conference and your brand to the next level and be able to help connect everybody, all the Black women in media, like you were saying before, with the mentorship program, and tying it all together. So I'm excited to see what you have in store.
Thank you, thank you.
So you spoke about being virtual.
Right.
And you know, with Corona last year, it was a process to be able to get it all together. So I want to know, what advice can you give for somebody in media who's looking to take their brand to the next level, go virtual, have these conferences, and stuff like that.
And so with Black Women in Media, so we had to pivot just like everyone else because of the pandemic or panorama, whichever we want to go with. So we had to, you know, really pivot. Usually our conference takes place in March, Women's History Month. But we moved it to the fall of last year, so it was, as you all know, it was in November of 2020. And the virtual space is very new for a lot of people. With us, thankfully, my team and I, we were able to, I have 15 years of background in events and production and so on, so that helped. But for those of you who are starting off brand new, you have to do a lot of research, and you know, definitely get in touch with me if you need help to really plan and put together these events, because you need to have someone who's knowledgeable and understanding the platforms, the necessary platforms to utilize, because as you well know, the platforms that we use to stream our event, it made the world of difference. We were producing an event that was in comparison to some of these bigger, you know, Fortune 500 companies that were putting together their conference. So there's a lot of planning that goes into it. Your creativity and how you engage an audience on a virtual scale is very important. So the in-betweens, you know, such as the different content or segments that you incorporate into your conference is very important. The speakers who you have in order to pour into your audience, that's also equally important. And of course, having a strong team, you know, who you can rely on to help put these things together. So
exactly. So detail, planning, organization, strong team, all together.
And then, you know, me.
And then you as the face.
Right.
But that's great, and thank you for sharing that, because media is going to be so different in the future.
Oh, it is.
Everything's going to be virtual.
Yeah.
Most things are going to be virtual. And it's so important to be able to understand and do your research so that you can make your conference or your brand grow. And,
absolutely. You know? Like you said, everything's going to be virtual, at least on a hybrid scale.
Right.
You know, so following this year, let's say, you know, the world opens back up and, you know, where the pandemic hasn't affected us greatly, we're still going to have a virtual take on it, because what we realized when we did our studies was we had a larger audience with Black Women in Media conference, because people weren't, you know, limited to a certain location. They didn't have to come to New York. They could just be in their living rooms in front of their computer screens or on their actual mobile devices and just view the conference or the awards in that way. So our audience, this last year was the biggest, level of registrants that we've ever had.
Hello. I want to extend heartfelt appreciation to founder Judith Jacques and the entire Black Women in Media team.
Thank you so much for this incredible honor. I got an award.
So it was extremely exciting to see those numbers. I'm like, well, you know, this actually helped a little, you know?
And that's the beauty of social media and the beauty of the internet, is that we can connect from anywhere and anywhere at any time throughout the world.
And that is so true, because prior to social media, everyone seemed so far away, but now social media is bringing, have a bird's eye view to everyone's personal lives and so on. Well, as much as they, allow you to see, but it's definitely bridged the gap.
It shows everyone how we're all connected.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Black Women in Media has been sponsored and recognized by BT, CNN, Ebony, New York Post. The list really goes on and on. And so how do you get these recognitions from all these high media companies to recognize your brand?
It makes it easier because our company, our platform is like focused on women in media. So it helps, we'll say that. But I think a lot of it goes into the work that we do as well. I was speaking to a partner yesterday, and one of their decisions and partnering up with us was how we represented and presented the business and the company. So branding is very important. You want it to look clean, and we've been blessed enough to have a team that believes in the vision, and they're able to pour into Black women in media. Like, they see what I'm like. I literally just throw things out there. I'm like, put it together, and they do. So it's very important to have a sense of creativity. And as long as you allow these brands to see how your platform helps them further connect with their targeted audience, they'll jump on board.
Let's use our excellence, let's use our Black beautifulness to get out there and be change agents in the world.
A lot of times you're not acknowledged for the work that you put in.
It's just such an honor to be in this room with such powerhouse women that I admire.
So let us live our lives in such a way that the generations of Black girls to come can stand on our shoulders.
So there has to be a sense of credibility. So with us celebrating our 6th conference and awards, there's that sense of credibility. Also, our past esteemed speakers and honorees, of course, and past media mentions. Those things help in the credibility of our brand, and every single year it just keeps growing and growing. So there has to be a level of patience there too.
Right, exactly. So it comes from the passion.
Right.
Then it comes from creating your team.
Right.
And then it comes from getting that credibility.
Right.
To be able to connect with those different media brands and build those relationships.
Yes, absolutely. LinkedIn, by the way, in terms of like building relationships, LinkedIn is a gold mine. And I realized that in 2012, I started utilizing LinkedIn when people saw it just as a jobs platform, like a social platform for job hunting and recruiting. I saw all these other professionals that were on there who weren't looking for jobs, but this was the means of connecting with other professionals, and I started reaching out to them and building relationships with them there. So if you want to establish relationships with ideal individuals who are interested in, just being a part of what it is that you're doing, build a relationship with them on LinkedIn, because your credibility is built through there.
Right, and I feel like so many people don't know that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people try to reach out on Instagram or DMs, and it's like when you want to go from a professional standpoint, it's very important to have your LinkedIn profile.
And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to people with Instagram. A lot of our honorees, we were able to grab them through our Instagram.
Right.
However, you need to still have an identity on LinkedIn, because one, that's your credibility as a professional, and as well as your professional brand. So a lot of people don't understand that. So I speak to my clients and I tell them, do you have a LinkedIn? That's the first thing I tell them. Well, I don't need a LinkedIn, I just, my company. Well, no, they need to understand you and your identity in a professional standpoint. Then you're attracting or connecting with individuals who share the same like mind, and who understand the same interests that you have. So those are very important as well. So LinkedIn is a gold mine in every sense of the word,
What do you envision for Black women in media for the future?
I would love for Black women in media to be the #1 platform that caters to women in literature and publishing, news and journalism, digital and tech. Even we just now, of course, media, entertainment, communications. We just now, in television and film, we just now incorporated diversity, inclusion, and equity, because we realize that the individuals who have those roles are gatekeepers. And a lot of times it doesn't necessarily mean that they're gatekeepers in media-related companies, but they have it's a communications role, because they also are the gatekeepers of the partnerships and the sponsorships and so on, and giving fair equity to platforms such as Black Women in Media in order to receive the resources that are necessary in order, for us to be sustainable and to thrive. So it's very important for us to, make sure that we understand that.
Right, exactly. And that's what's so important about bringing it back to being a Black woman in general, be able to have that space for us to thrive, for us to be able to see people who look like us, and to be able to take, you know, our brands to the next level through Black women in media.
Yes.
So I'm excited to see what you have in store for the near future.
We hope that Black women in media, you know, it lives way past us. You know, that hopefully sometime in the near future, not near, but sometime in the future, they'll be celebrating their 100 year and their 150 year and so on and going. And it's continued to be the platform that bridges this gap and highlights Black women in all of these industries. Absolutely.
That's what I like to hear. Okay, so being a mother, being a wife, and running a full-time company. How do you balance it all?
It takes some practice. It takes some practice. It takes a lot of, you know, learning and so on. As you well know, last year when I was planning it, I was pregnant, you know, and it was a lot. You know, we're not gonna try to water it down. It's a lot of hard work, but you know, as women, we tend to, you know, just carry many hats, and we have that ability and capacity to do that. It doesn't always mean that we should. I'm just saying, if you do so choose to, you should build, this is what I did. I built multiple schedules for every facet of my life. So my home life, with my children and my husband, I have a schedule that intertwines with my schedule with Black women in media. I also have a firm, you know, CCMG, which is a communications and business development firm that strongly focuses on marginalized communities. But we also have to balance that as well, because I have clients who have certain expectations. So, you know, we have a lot of scheduling and a lot of planning that, you know, comes into, you know, the picture, but we bring it together and it intertwines. So sometimes I'll have a conference call when I'm cooking dinner, you know, or I have my daughter with me. It just doesn't make sense for her not to be with me. We almost died together, so there's an extra bond. So anyways, you know, it's definitely the most important thing is to allow if your schedule allows you that freedom to have a business or some sort of entrepreneurial journey, then you have that and you have your life or home, you know, different sector, and you bring those two things together. A lot of people try to separate it. The best way that it works is if you intertwine them.
Well, from the outside looking in, you're killing it.
So keep
doing you, and going back to being organized. That's where it all comes from.
No, I had to learn to, because I was all over the place. It does. You know, it takes. If I had someone that told me that it was okay to allow a work-life balance for entrepreneurs and how to do that successfully, then I would have been okay. But I kept trying to keep it separate. It works best if you allow your entire life to be planned together. Simultaneously, yes.
That's some great advice. So what can someone do to maximize their potential within the media industry?
Maximizing your potential. So number one thing, especially if you're a Black or brown person, number one thing you need to, unfortunately, we're still having these conversations about diversity and inclusion and so on. So there's still tokenism in the industry. There's still systematic oppression just based on, you know, the culture that America is. So with that being said, it's very important for you to stand out. And how do you do that is to perfect your craft. That's very important. That individuals have to perfect their craft. When you do perfect your craft, be confident in the fact that you've perfected it. And that, I speak for myself, you know, I knew what I was doing, but when I got into the room, there was this uncertainty. Because again, you know, especially people of color, Black women, we have this imposter syndrome that we experience. And it's very important for us to understand that you are very much so deserving to be in this room. If you even made it into this room, you have to understand that you probably worked twice as hard than anybody else who's in it. So aside from perfecting your craft, find a mentor. Find a mentor who is thriving in the same industry and align yourselves with them. So you don't reach out to someone on LinkedIn and say, hey, listen, I want you to mentor me. No, listen, this is what I have done. These are my plans in the next 5 years, and I've seen your work, and I'm completely in awe of what you have been doing, and I would love to align myself with you. Can you please mentor me? It'll take a monster to say no. It'll take a real monster to say no. So, you know, if you do that, you perfect your craft, You align yourself with your mentor and you work really, really hard at building your brand, at building your company, and just sticking to it. Consistency is important.
Right.
Sticking to it, you know, you'll thrive.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So anything that you put out there is going to come back.
Absolutely,
positively.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
that's great. What advice can you give to young Black women trying to make a name for themselves in the media industry?
So for any future media mavens out there, I just want you to know, first of all, you need to identify what you want to do and not what you'd like to do. And that's gonna decipher your identity. So you need to understand what your identity is and then gravitate towards individuals who are basically doing the same thing. And either they mentor you or you learn from them, because as human beings, we have the instinct to learn very quickly. No matter what your past teachers, counselors have said to you, you have the ability to learn very quickly. So identify who you want to be, find other individuals who are thriving in that same industry, and allow them to, don't copy them, but allow them to inspire you, and you'll thrive.
Yes! Thank you so much for coming onto my show. This has been such a pleasure interviewing you, getting to know your journey in the media. As a Black woman, you are killing it.
Thank you.
You're a powerhouse. So
Thank you.
you guys make sure you check out Black Women in Media. Register this November. It's gonna be a
Yes,
killer.
yes.
It really is. So
Yes.
make sure you guys check it out, and thank you, Judith.
Thank you so much for having me.